Hello, Serge here for the backyard driving range. All right, oh, I don't see a sheet here, so this is Serge is just going to talk about some things, some observations from the Serge about peak performance golf students showing up for lessons and golf schools. The first thing I want to say is I'm extremely impressed by the knowledge many of you are showing up with, and I'm seeing the hard work you've put into trying to learn the swing, and I think in some cases I see Sergites who can probably almost read many of the manuals, recite the manuals, and better than I can, and I wrote them. But and the videos, you can almost say, you can almost talk with the videos. And so I'm seeing students show up, Sergites show up with really having, without a doubt, you can see they've worked hard on trying to make the PPGS. So what I want to talk about today is some of the major issues that I'm seeing in terms of, could they be misunderstandings, or they think they're doing what they're the PPGS, but they're really having some issues in certain areas. And so what are some of the most important ones that I've seen? Well, setup. Let's just start with setup. We'll talk about setup. Basically, I guess I'm still seeing, unfortunately, too many folks showing up with bifocals. But boy, I'm getting really feeling good about it, because there's less and less and less. All right, you're all getting that message. If you're playing with bifocals and your reading part is down here, you can't play golf with them, because you got to put your head down too much to see over the top. I've said this enough. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. But what I'm telling you now is, if you're going to get a special pair made to play golf, you don't want them in the corner or over here, whatever. If you're going to do anything, flip them. Put the reading part at the top and put your distance one at the bottom, so you can keep your head up to play golf. And when you have to do the scorecard, put your head down to do the scorecard. It's not going to hurt you to write having to put your head down and look up the top, okay? As I said to a lot of folks, do you want to shoot a good score, or do you want to write a good score? Heck, if you start shooting a good enough score, you might not even have to write it when you're taking a whole lot less strokes, right? But either way, switch it. Put your reading at the top, the distance on the bottom. Another one would be, I'm really seeing a great job of a lot of y'all coming in with flared feet, but I'm still seeing, I think, too much straight feet. Flared feet's important, because if your feet aren't flared, and even when you're trying to make the limited turn swing, it's still going to be difficult to maintain the wide knees outward pressure, because as soon as you stop moving it, you're going to feel a lot of tension in your knees. The flared feet allows the knees to kind of rotate a little bit in place when we maintain the outward pressure. So watch your toes. Make sure you got the flared feet that will allow a tension-free backswing in terms of when you have the wide knees outward pressure to stop that, to hold the feet in place, so we can keep the quiet body as we do in the peak performance golf swing. I think that another one I see is that I'm still seeing a lot of golfers who think they're preloaded heavy right, but they're actually more forward. All right, and again, with preloaded heavy right is, you got to be here and just tilt a little bit this way. You want to actually feel maybe that you're a little bit playing. I'm going to stand on this side, because a little bit slightly uphill. Instead, I see more golfers. See what happens to my spine here? Here I'm level. I go this way. Just feel like you're on this side of the mat, so you got this slight little tilt. Preloaded heavy right. If you're on a preloaded heavy right, you should be able to take your spine, move 1 inch about like that, and pick the front foot up. Naturally, you're going to have to put it down quick, because you'd fall. You need the balance. But the point is when I tell people, a lot of people, close your eyes and which way can you move and lift the opposite foot up, I see people like this, and next thing you know, I say, holy cow, I'm on my left side. Yeah, because why? They'd have to lift up they could go just like that and lift their back foot. They'd have to move 4 or 5 inches or more to get to lift up their front foot. So that's a good test to see if you're preloaded heavy. Another one I see that's really alarming is, because it's gonna really hurt your backswing, and that is, I see too many with the back arm too straight rather than a little folded under and here. That causes the club to come back shut, and it's also gonna, when it comes back shut, at some point it's gonna have to flip because the back arm is high, and when it can't go up anymore because the back arm and high is on top, you got to rotate, and that's going to flip you laid off and deep, and then laid off and deep is going to come back out and over. So we want to make sure that we get the right arm in the master setup position. You can go and check out videos on that and in the manuals about the master setup position. Most of the time I'm saying, like I said, I've seen pretty good widths of stance, but the other big issue is it's still amazing how many folks I see with the nose behind the ball. They think they're looking at the ball. Well, if you want to check if you're looking at the ball, just get your normal setup, close your eyes, open them up, and where do you see your focus? Your focus, if your nose is at the ball should be right in the center of your focus as soon as your eyes open up again. If your eyes open up and your focus is behind the ball and the ball's over here somewhere in your vision, you know your nose is not at the ball, it's behind the ball. We want the nose at the ball. Focus is important, and the ball should be in the middle of your focus, and that's a critical one. I still see a lot too many folks with their nose behind the ball. And I was going to say probably the last one that I see that's really big is I still see a lot of golfers with the shaft straight in line or even back shafted, and that's sort of too close to the belt buckle and not in a position where the shaft is pointing up at the inside of the forward hip. Okay, see, that gives us the hands a little bit ahead of the ball, so the club is going to have a chance of starting the club back and being able to start it back with good rotation into the back, mid toe up to lift it up the tree. Okay, so we've covered a number of the issues that I see, and again, the big thing is even when I find most golfers and any of these out of position, they're nowhere near as bad as it used to be, and they're getting a lot closer. But these are just some helpful hints of what I feel to be about the 7 major biggest peak performance golf swing setup. Things that are still Sergites are having a little trouble really getting into them correctly. And why is that so important? Because what's the Sergism for setup? The setup determines the motion. How your body is in address helps create the motion you need. And so we want you in the proper setup. The setup determines the motion. So go check yourself out on these 7 issues I just brought up and see where you stand on those. And if you're a little bit off, get into the manuals, get into the videos, see exactly what it's going to be, and work on getting into the absolute correct peak performance golf swing setup. So therefore you'll have a better chance of making the correct peak performance golf swing. That's it for today on the Setup Determines the Motion, and I'll be speaking with you all again soon.